everybody, Jason Burmis here. Hope you had a lovely Thanksgiving with your family and you're all full of delicious food, including turkey, of course. But let's talk turkey right now. What I want to go over here is when we get the documents, when we actually have the documents, we dive into the documents so that you can see for yourself without speculation what we're talking about when it comes to the Epstein case. Now, when Maria Farmer first came out and started saying publicly, listen, Virginia Roberts is somebody who seems to be telling the truth. I saw things in my employment of Epstein. I was sexually assaulted by Epstein. My sister was sexually assaulted by Epstein when she was underage. And I went to the FBI and the NYPD all the way back in 1995, and nothing was done. Well, that changes the scope of just about everything, doesn't it? Because now we have things that predate Palm Beach, Florida, by many, many years, and make it abundantly clear that this was covered up even before those allegations and even before that first 14-year-old victim. Now, what I want to do is focus on one section of one of the documents, because basically we had two filed about 2.5 weeks ago, and usually it takes a little while for these to come out on the docket. And I want to thank you guys, my great audience out there, because if you watched my walk and talk the other day, the day before Thanksgiving, I was wondering whether or not this meant the 10,000 pages were coming out. Now, I'm anxiously awaiting those 10,000 pages, and a judge will rule on them in about a week. I believe it will be December 5th. Thank you to Big Fish at Trey Billion for that information. On the other hand, somebody gave me a link to these documents, which were referred to in this about Ghislaine Maxwell. And the first one is really an attachment of that original New York sealed indictment on sex trafficking. And, just to give you a synopsis of this one before we get into the second one, which I think is a little bit more important because we've already gone through this at length. You have the three different employers that seem to be working with Jeffrey Berman and the NYPD. We have New York and New Mexico named, and yet we still haven't gone into New Mexico. And that's such a problem because although Maria Farmer is of age when she's sexually assaulted, it happens not in New York and not in the Zorro Ranch, but in Les Wexner's Ohio mansion, I believe. I believe it's in Ohio there as well. But she discusses how all of these places are absolutely 100% involved. So right here, I just want to make it clear, the first one filed on the 12th is simply that indictment. Now, what's happening is they're suing the estate of Jeffrey Epstein, so those that have control of that. So that's Darren K. Indyke and Richard Day Kahn. And really, I want to go through this, and thank you so much. Don't ever stop digging up the dirt. Thank you, C-Talkus. I appreciate that super chat. Flick off. Thank you for that very cool sticker. We appreciate it. I like the little backwards hat. I wish I was wearing one because I'd make it backwards. But yeah, you can see right here, Epstein's trafficking scheme involved recruiting young females by making false promises and using his wealth, power, and threats to intimidate the females into submission to his demands. This same pattern was repeated numerous times with numerous young women. And you see about the 30 minor girls. Again, that all comes out during Palm Beach. But what's also interesting is it's Maria Farmer's story about her and her sister Annie that Vicky Ward got and had to omit from her story all the way back in 2003. But remember, that's just a story. That's not the confirmation that this woman went to the NYPD and the FBI. But don't worry, we will get there. They talk about the organized sex trafficking network to obtain hundreds of young females for himself for sex. By the way, he usually liked 3 different partners, okay? And when we're talking about the minors, it was not only for his sexual gratification, but the sexual gratification of others. And we're going to get into her entire story which, morphs from this story where he buys art from her and then gives her a position to buy art for him in New York, to then being his door girl, okay, and keeping track of who was in and out. And one of the things that's pretty interesting in the indictment, and let's look at this. Let's find this. Let's see if we can find the word normalize. No. Basically, it goes into pictures. Maybe we can find that word. Pictures of, man, not going to happen here either, of nudes. Got anything here? Okay, let's see. No, but basically they would have pictures of nude women next to political figure, powerful people. Maybe it's photos. Man, I'm striking out on this one. But it would be to normalize it. Let's see if we can find it. Now I want to scroll through. So this is when they're talking about how each girl would then bring additional girls to Epstein. Similar network. Sorry, guys. It's killing me here. But basically they would put pictures of minors next to pictures of political figures that had been there in prominence with Epstein. Okay? And that was one of the ways to persuade them into, doing these type of things. Other than promising them the world, of course. But to normalize what was about to happen to them. Let's see. Hundreds of dollars. Yes, minor. Get it? And by the way, there are 3 specific minors in the indictment. As you see, victim 1, victim 2, and victim 3. How much farther down are we? Man, that's going to kill me, but whatever. We're just going to get into it. We're going to continue down through this. And basically, they talk about these non-prosecution agreements until we get to the story of Maria Farmer. And when we get there, that's where it's really, really important to me. Okay? Because a lot of these are quoted, and, it even talks about Epstein joking about it after he'd been caught. I'm not a sexual predator. I'm an offender. It's the difference between a murderer and a person who steals a bagel. And they also talk about his jail time here, by the way. And let's get this clear. They're kind of generous in this because they say that, although he served over a year in prison, he was able to leave 6 days a week for 12 hours a day. Well, now we know it's probably more than that. And the records have been doctored. And there's an investigation into that. And the private investigator that was looking at him noted that he was being protected by off-duty Palm Beach police and walking into private establishments with young women. He was doing this the entire time he was even in jail, and I called that. They also talk about this quote from Epstein, that criminalizing sex with teenage girls was a cultural aberration, and that at times in history it was perfectly acceptable. Okay, so. It was 26 when the act was committed against this woman. All right, I want to make that clear. She was of age, but then he preyed upon her sister Annie later on. And she talks about any statute of limitations applicable to the plaintiff's claims, if any, is told due to the continuous and active deception, duress, threats of retaliation, and other forms of misconduct that Epstein and his co-conspirators used to silence his many victims, including Maria Farmer, the plaintiff. All right? So let's continue down. And this is where it gets into how she lives in Arkansas. Talks about who the executives of the estate are. All right? So these are the allegations. All right? And if you see this, you can see the New Mexico ranch valued, I think it's at $17 million, and the New York townhouse at $55 million. All right, And he's saying basically this is, the transcontinental sex trafficking of hundreds of young girls servicing him and his co-conspirators. Hundreds. All right? He utilized his seemingly unlimited power, wealth, and resources, as well as his deep connections to powerful and politically connected individuals to intimidate and manipulate his victims of sexual abuse. Okay? And by the way, she names Dershowitz specifically in this document. Okay? And what he would do is he would send a recruiter out, and he would try to find out their background and any vulnerabilities they've exposed. I want to be a famous model. I don't have any money. I don't have a father. My parents aren't around. I recently moved here, etc., etc., etc. All right? The recruiter would then manipulate the young female into coming back to one of Epstein's residences by offering the young female something she needed. At times, the recruiter's lure would be modeling opportunity, money for education, help for a young female's family, and a whole host of other related offers depending on the target's situation. Once in the residence, the recruiter and Epstein would work in concert to impress and intimidate the young female with displays of vast wealth, including having employees that were butlers and maids formally dressed around the house. They would also strategically place photographs of very powerful political and social figures amongst photographs of art displaying nude females in an effort to normalize the sexual abuse. I'm sorry, this was in the other document, and this was what I was talking about. They would also normalize the sexual abuse by placing a massage table and spa-related products around the massage area in an effort to legitimize the area where the abuse was set to occur. Okay? And then, once abused, Epstein and his co-conspirators continued to manipulate the victims using their financial power, promises, and threats to ensure that the victim returned and directed and remained compliant with their demand. Okay? And here it is. This is where it gets really juicy. 1995. And guys, I got to get some water. So give me one moment, and I'm going to be right back. Oh, I needed that. All right. So, as you can see, she claims it is going back as 95. And as we're going to find out later in this documentation, that, again, the FBI, the NYPD, both very, very aware, and the media ignored her. Okay? Yes, glug glug, Drufus. Needed that water break. Sorry, I wish I had a littler bottle I would have done on there. Oh, the indictment described Epstein's conduct in his abuse and trafficking of females in the same trafficking operation he used to abuse and traffic the plaintiff. Okay? So let's keep going down. They talk about his residences. They talk about Little St. James Island, etc. They talk about his will and his estate, and basically who is going to submit the proposal of who's going to get what. All right? So now we're going to get to Maria Farmer and how she gets involved. Gerard Vincent, why has Epstein's tall number not been addressed since? It was revealed it was a government tail number? Oh, his plane? Yeah, the plane is spooky. You know what? I would say this. Whitney Webb's done even more research into, I think it's Southern Air Transport. Don't quote me on that, what the exact name is, but I've talked about it before too. And it was a plane business that he got involved in that was the follow-up to Air America, which was CIA. I believe that's part of the whole thing, Gerard Vincent. So Whitney Webb, I think it's Southern Air Transport, but don't quote me. A lot going on in this case. But it's definitely, I believe it's co-owned with Wexner. So he and Wexner basically buy up the plane company that's rebranded after it's caught being a CIA front, which was Air America. And what was it? Mel Gibson and Robert Downey Jr. did a movie as those guys. So now we're going to get into Maria Farmer, Ghislaine Maxwell. And remember, it was reported that Maxwell's finally going to, be brought in by the FBI. And I'm not sure if that's the real deal. Remember, we're now, 2.5 weeks out from the reports from the Express that 4 people are going to be arrested. We know 3 of the employees are working with the government in this indictment. So many layers to this. And now we know, again, we're waiting for those 10,000 pages to be ruled on December 5th. But Maria Farmer, Annie Farmer, their story is so important because it goes back to 95. It names Dershowitz by name. And it shows that, once again, this guy had young girls there all the time. Maria Farmer was born on November 28, 1969. Her parents divorced when she was young, and her mother struggled financially to support Maria and her siblings. In 1993, Maria moved to New York City to pursue her art. In approximately 1995, Maria was an accomplished artist and graduate student at the New York Academy of Art. She met Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell, a British socialite known for recruiting young girls for Epstein, at one of her art openings in New York. Epstein noticed Maria's artwork and offered to help her art career if she sold a piece of artwork to him for half price. Maria agreed and sold the painting to Epstein. Okay? Epstein asked Maria many personal questions, including if she had a father and other questions about her life and family. Maria told Epstein that her parents were divorced and that she and her family were struggling financially. Epstein later offered Maria a job to purchase art for him in New York, and she accepted. So little by little, she gets her more and more involved in his operation. Patient guy, by the way. This doesn't happen in a day a lot of the times, Sometimes it does, depending on how young they are, but this is an older woman. And that's the thing that people don't get. It wasn't just, teenage girls. Eventually, Epstein modified Maria's job duties to focus on monitoring and keeping records of who entered Epstein's New York mansion. In her position at the front door, she observed that Maxwell was regularly bringing school-aged girls to the mansion and that the girls were always escorted upstairs. Among the guests that came to the mansion, Maria observed Alan Dershowitz, a lawyer on a number of occasions, and observed that he would go upstairs at the same time the young girls were there. Oh, not that we should ever believe Alan Dershowitz, but, Maria Farmer making these allegations all the way back in 95, and here we are in 2019, okay, 24 years later, and now we're at the court documents. Maxwell described her role to Maria as recruiting models for Epstein and told Maria that the girls were interviewing for modeling positions with Victoria's Secret, a lingerie retailer. Maria witnessed Maxwell approaching young females on the street and talking to them outside of the mansion. Maxwell would leave the mansion claiming she had to go get girls for Jeffrey and referred the girls was recruiting as nubiles. At the time, Maria was unaware of the sex trafficking conspiracy and believed the girls and young women were being recruited for modeling positions. Epstein also made it very clear to Maria that he was incredibly wealthy, powerful, and regularly in contact with world leaders. In fact, in his New York mansion, he had photographs displayed of significant political figures to ensure that any young female entering the home would know that he had extensive government connections. Epstein was not to be disobeyed, and he made clear by his words and actions that there would be consequences if Maria did not comply with his demands. All right, and later on, there's a death threat, period, amen. Epstein and Maxwell asked Maria many questions about her family. Maria would often use her family members as her subjects for artwork, and this is where we get to Annie. So she had several photographs of her siblings, including her younger sister, Annie. Epstein and Maxwell started asking a number of questions about Annie, and Maria told them how smart Annie was and how she hoped to go to a great college. After seeing photos of Annie, Epstein told Maria that he wanted to fly Annie to New York for a visit. Maria thought Epstein was simply being generous since Maria had explained how much she missed seeing Annie. What Maria did not realize was Epstein was intending to groom Annie for sexual abuse. Epstein paid for plane tickets to fly Annie to New York during the visit. Epstein took Annie and Maria to a movie. During the movie, without Maria's knowledge, Epstein groped Annie against her will. Thereafter, Annie left New York to head home without telling Maria that Epstein had groped her at the movie. And this is where the actual sexual abuse occurs with Annie. After Annie's visit to New York, Epstein began to call Annie and Maria's mother to discuss Annie and to falsely claim that he was interested in helping Annie with her goal of going to a great college. He eventually convinced Annie's mother to allow Annie to fly to his ranch in New Mexico at the age of 16, where Maxwell and Epstein assaulted her. Now, here's the thing. What people don't understand is the age of consent in New Mexico is 16. He never even registered as a sex offender there. I've tried to cover this many times. It's a fact people forget. And if you don't think that some of his movements and actions took place in that manner deliberately, I think you'd be wrong. During the course of her employment with Epstein, he directed Maria to become an artist in residence at billionaire Les Wexner's Ohio estate. At the time, Wexner was the chief executive of the parent company of Victoria's Secret. Epstein informed Maria that she would be staying in Epstein's 30,000 square foot guest house that was located on Wexner's Ohio estate. And this is where she is the one that gets abused. By the way, guys, thumb this up. We've been going 20 plus minutes strong. Like, share, subscribe if you're new. We do deep dives like this a lot. And if we get those 10,000 pages, you better believe we're going to be one of the first to deep dive. During Maria's time at Wexner's estate, Epstein and Maxwell visited. Epstein requested a foot massage from Maria. Maria found the request to be disturbing, but complied because Epstein was her employer. After complying with this request for a massage, Epstein invited Maria to sit on the bed where he was watching television. Maxwell then joined them on the bed. Epstein and Maxwell proceeded to attack Maria physically against her will, including by violently sexually assaulting Maria. Maria fled from the room and called the police, but the police did not respond to her. Desperate for help, Maria then called her father for help. Despite demanding to be allowed to leave the property, Wexner's security personnel held Maria against her will and did not let her leave the property for several hours, even after she pleaded with them and told them about her assault. They eventually let Maria leave with her father, who drove from Kentucky to Ohio to get Maria away from Epstein and Maxwell. Think about that. All right? Think about that. So, she's held against her will after she refuses to have sex with these people, after they creep her the fuck out in Wexner's mansion, right? And somehow, luckily, she's able to get her dad there to come and get her, and they finally release her. All right? After Maria returned to New York from Ohio, Maxwell called on behalf of Epstein and threatened Maria in order to keep her quiet. We're going to burn all of your art, and I just want you to know that anything you ever make will be burned. Your career is burned. Instead of letting Maxwell's words silence her, Maria reported her assault to the 6th Precinct of the NYPD. The NYPD referred Maria to the FBI. 1995. Maria followed the instruction and called the FBI to make the report of the abuse. To the extreme detriment of Maria and also countless of other victims who came after her, authorities ignored Maria's reporting efforts and took no action. So now I'm supposed to trust the FBI in their investigation into the death of Epstein and MCC, and I'm supposed to trust Barr and all these other deep staters when they took no action in 1995? Maria also called her younger sister, Annie, who was overseas studying in an educational seminar for high-performance high school students. During the call, Annie shared with Maria that she too had been assaulted by Epstein and Maxwell in New York and New Mexico. So again, the FBI knows he's trafficking young girls in 1995, not doing anything. Okay? And this is where we get to Vanity Fair, as you can see. And this is the Vicky Ward story. Okay? Eventually gets published in 2003. The sexual allegations all go away. All right? They embarked on a campaign to destroy Maria's reputation and career. Okay? They called her clients and other individuals in the community and were ultimately successful in shutting her out of all art-related projects. Yep. Maxwell again called Maria to threaten her, but this time threatened her life. I know you go to the West Side Highway all the time. While you're out there, just be really careful because there are a lot of ways to die there. Afraid for her safety, having informed the NYPD, the FBI, and the media to no avail, Maria moved several times to try to hide from Epstein and Maxwell. Her fear of Epstein's power was exacerbated by the fact that state and federal authorities, all of the media, were not taking action against Epstein. There you go, guys. I mean, there's a little bit more in here. You can check it all out. Basically gets into, the amount of the suits. We're waiting on those 10,000 pages. Hopefully we're going to get them soon. We're going to really deep dive once they get released. I don't know how a judge is not going to release them. It would be disgusting and disturbing if they do not. With that being said, please thumbs this video up. Again, I hope everybody had a really happy Thanksgiving. Thumbs the video up, share, like, sub, become a member of the Burmese Brigade. Throw this out on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Reddit, all sorts of good stuff. And of course, I'm a documentary filmmaker. You can see all of my documentaries for free. That's right, for free, right here in the playlist section. Loose Change, Final Cut, Fabled Enemies, Invisible Empire, New World Order Defined, and Shade the Motion Picture. And if you want to support me financially, you enjoyed this video, you like what I do, $5, $10, $15, it means the world to me. It's how I keep it going. I'd really like to at least hit the 3,000 mark before the end of the month. We may not even do that. It's already the 29th. I get it. But that's okay. We're going to keep pushing forward. I love you guys, and I'll see you all on the flip side.